Hey everyone, good morning and happy Wednesday. Let's give everyone a minute to join before we begin. In the meantime, feel free to add in the chat box where you guys are joining from. Uh, yeah, you can add it here, Darren. We have Sandro from Montreal, Angel from Auburn, Aaron from Halifax. Okay, let's go get this thing started here. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar on mechanical and plumbing subcontractors and Fieldwire use cases for them. My name is Pranati Gumpa and I'm a program manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. Firstly, to ensure a smooth session, all the attendees are muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have in that Q&A panel, the same place where you guys were adding your locations. We will get to the Q&As at the end of the session, and we'll do our best to address as many questions as we have. But in case we don't get to any of your questions, our experts will reach out to you directly. And as we go through this, we also have a few poll questions for you to participate in. So please feel free to select your answers when those questions pop up. Additionally, we do have a 5-question survey at the end of the webinar, and that survey actually determines the usefulness of this content that we deliver, and it also helps me to plan the future webinars. So please take a few minutes to fill that in. Awesome. So before we get started, let's start with a poll question. Just want to understand what type of company you guys work for, subcontractors, mechanical or plumbing, or GCs, or just any other subs, AEC, or others. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And then I have another quick question here, just understanding what's your role at your company, PM, project engineer, coordinator, super foreman. Perfect. Thanks for voting in. So without further ado, let me go ahead and welcome our Senior Solutions Engineer, Jason Tapp.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Jason. I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer here at Fieldwire. I've been with Fieldwire for a bit over 3 years now. I do come from the construction industry. I was with a GC in a previous life, but a lot of my day-to-day involves working with customers who are interested in improving their workflows and seeing if Fieldwire and what we have to offer is going to be a good fit for some of the things that they're looking to improve on. So looking forward to kind of walking you through a project that we built out as it relates specifically to plumbing and mechanical, but obviously for those of you that are not within those trades, hopefully you can kind of find some value as well and kind of extrapolate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. So if you go to the next slide, so today we're just gonna go with the quick agenda here for today. We just did our introduction with Jason. I'll quickly go over what Fieldwire is for anyone who's new and who hasn't used Fieldwire before. And majority of our time we'll spend on our live demo here, and then we'll spend good 10 to 15 minutes on the Q&As. Next slide. For anyone who's new, Fieldwire is Fieldwire is a software that basically connects the field to the office. Again, starting from your plans, your markups, and 3Ds, how to access information, all of that is connected between field and office. And it also helps you to plan and manage work with our modules like tasks and checklists and all the messages within the tasks, and also allows you to quickly generate your reports using our task reports or custom forms, add a bunch of photos to your reports and stuff like that. Next slide. We do have a lot of modules within Fieldwire. Today, we're just going to focus on the 6 different modules, which pretty much fall under our field management side of the application. Awesome. So let's get started. Jason, do you want to walk us through how do you set up your project when you are working with customers?
Yeah. So just to kind of give a lay of the land here, this is the initial dashboard that you will likely see when you first sign into Fieldwire on a desktop. I'll be kind of switching back and forth between this and my iPad today just to kind of show you the mobile side of it as well. But when it comes to creating a job, it's very easy. You can just hit this new project button in the upper left there, and then it will prompt you to fill out your project name. If you have an internal code, you can fill that out as well. And then this will be a bit more relevant and make more sense as we get through the rest of the project demonstration here, but the ability to templatize based off of other projects you've created. So, let's say you've set up a job, you really like the way you've set up your folder structure and some of the ways that you've set up the structure of your tasks and forms and things like that. You can essentially templatize those projects so that you can standardize that across your organization. But I'm going to click into this job that I've created here. And you can see here we have our navigation bar on the left-hand side that's going to allow me to kind of sift through the different sections of this job. I'm going to focus on the document management portion of the project, right? So basically, what are the tools within here that are going to allow me to store and access all of my important project documentation easily? So first things first, going to cover specs real quick. Pretty self-explanatory, right? You can upload your spec book package up into here, and it will break out your spec into these divisions, the CSI divisions here, and bookmark each of the headers. So when it comes time for me to want to access, let's say, hydronic pumps, I can click on this, and it will pull up that section there. And then I'm able to take advantage of, words, markups, annotations, and all of those things. Next thing we have is our files tab, right? So for everything that's not plans or specifications, you can basically create your own folder structure in here and upload any relevant documentation, again, for easy access. So you can see here I've kind of set up this kind of structure where I can easily find my safety documentation, product data, RFI responses, O&Ms, whatever it is, it's all available to me here. And like I was saying earlier, this is all templatizable. So these folders can be, templatized. You can even templatize specific documents as well. So if there's like standard safety docs or, sequence of operations, startup items, things like that, you generally are going to know you're going to have on every project, you can set up those files and just have them copy over into new projects as you start them. Let's take a look at plans next. Again, this is going to kind of be the main kind of foundation that we build off of this, right? So you can see here I have all of my sheets broken up by their individual tiles. When you do upload your drawings into Fieldwire, they will break out your package into these individual pages like you see here. We'll assign the sheet numbers, and then once that happens, we'll basically create these hyperlinks off of any detail callouts or elevation cuts that are on these drawings here. But yeah, like I said, these drawings, obviously you can see a lot of stuff on here, but they will kind of serve as the foundation for where we'll begin to build off of and add tools that will help you manage and communicate on your project.
Awesome. So I'm looking at this plan here and I see like a ton of markups. Can you talk a little bit about the markups, Jason?
Yeah, sure. On the left-hand side, you have your markup toolbar, right? So anything that runs from free-form lines, arrows, polylines, shapes, text boxes, custom icons. If you want to throw down, we have mechanical, we have plumbing here, a suite of these for you to add. And then we also will typically try to calibrate sheets based off of the scale callout. So the software will usually try to identify scale callouts on the drawings so that it's going to be easy for you and your teams to be able to pull verification, whether it's linear footages, square footages, or even a polyline measurement if you want to kind of measure out the rerouting of a certain line or something like that here. So that's all available to you within the markup toolbar. You also do have different colors that you can change as well. So a really good example of this is, from an as-built perspective, kind of documenting in different colors the different scopes or different lines that you're installing. So for instance, if we're rerouting this gas line along this wall, you can see I'm able to just highlight what the original was in green and what the actual install route was in this dark line green here. And then of course, sanitary sewer maybe is green, and then your fire department connection is orange, so on and so forth. So it's going to allow you to easily kind of break out your scopes and color code them that way. And then the last thing here at the very top is kind of our chain link markup tool, which is, you want to think about this as the ability to link any kind of documentation off of the drawings. So if that's photos, PDF docs like RFIs, posting them, submittals, product data, whatever it is, you're basically able to link documents and reference anything from within the files, or upload them straight up from your desktop if you want to. So you can see here I'm quickly able to reference an RFI. Makes it really easy for your field, or even if you're walking out on the job site and you want to be able to pull up something real quickly without having to dig through the folders, you can just click on that that document wherever it's relevant on the drawings.
Got it. Can I also compare these drawings and like see what has changed over time between the revisions?
Yeah. When it comes to drawing revisions, let's say you're getting, new issuances, revision 1, addendum 1, whatever it is, Fieldwire does have a slip sheeting feature. So it's going to be the same exact process where you can just upload your set of drawings via that new plan button up top there. But during that processing period where we're assigning those sheet numbers again, it's going to identify any conflicts basically. So like, let's say you've updated P101 in this new revision 1, it's going to slip sheet the new set on top of the other old ones. It will pull all your markups up too as well, so you don't need to worry about redoing all your markups, and you're always going to be able to reference any previous drawings via that bar at the bottom. You get this neat little watermark that follows you around. And then also, if I wanted to take it a step further and let's say compare and overlay, right, and see what's changed on these drawings here, I'm able to do it real quickly here by just selecting that compare function. And then anything that will be different is typically going to be highlighted in blue and red. So blue is new, red is dead. Quick, easy little rhyme to remember there. And what's nice now is that I can actually just come in here and highlight the changes that I'm seeing here, where we're basically rerouting some of these branches there. And so, make those markups. I'm good there. I've identified the changes, and now when I get back to my original drawing and I unhide all of my layers, you can see that that markup that I made there is has pulled itself up to the most recent drawing.
Got it. And I also see there are a bunch of like pins on that plan. What are these pins and how do we use them?
Yeah, these little pins are what we call our tasks, right? So you want to think of tasks as basically anything that you would want to use to track the progress of work or correspondence for us. So think of things like trade damage, milestone activities, equipment install, right? Those are all things that we can track individually with tasks in the form of these pins. And so what's nice about it is not only are they going to be able to be placed on specific locations on the drawings, it's very easy for me to reference the information contained within them as well as add to it. So let's take this circulator pump as an example. I pull it up and you can kind of see how this task is, what kind of composes this task here, right? We have a messaging center down here where we can do things like send messages back and forth, right? So I can tag my foreman, he didn't get back to me. Can you take a photo, right? So this messaging tool is going to allow me to actually send real-time messages out to my field. They're going to be able to respond with photos like you see here or with text back. And then on the right-hand side, we have what we call attributes, which are things like being able to check, you know, where are we with this task, right? Are we still installing it? Is it completed? Is there an issue? What scope does it belong to, right? Just making it a bit easier for you to categorize these items here. And then of course your typical stuff like what drawing is it on, start and end dates if that's important, and then you know a bunch of other things like model number or other custom options if you want to add custom sections as well.
Got it. And how do you actually set these up? Is there a different portal? How do you set these statuses and categories, and how do you use them?
There is a task section here on the side that I can click on. It's going to take me to actually my task hub, right? And again, you know, this is a different dashboard, but as you saw earlier, all the tasks as you place them on the plans are also you can achieve them or pull them up from the drawings really easily there too. But the way we kind of organize this is in a more visual perspective, right? It's not just a straight up list of items that you got to filter through, kind of like an Excel file where you're taking notes. It's more of this what we call a Kanban view. So you can actually see the work that is currently experiencing issues. What work needs to be reviewed by the project manager, what's ready for install, what is currently in progress, what's done, so on and so forth, right? These are what we call our statuses, and it's very easy for me to kind of bucket up these tasks and move them across different statuses as I complete them there. I keep my statuses generic for a couple reasons, but the main one is just because it allows me to actually incorporate multiple scopes of work into it, right? So on this project, I'm doing both plumbing and mechanical as my scope of work. Keeping these statuses generic allow me to actually see where plumbing is and see where mechanical is without getting too in the weeds and not being able, because obviously you have different terms for mechanical and plumbing. So this allows me to incorporate everything there. Obviously, this is customizable though. So if you know this verbiage doesn't necessarily make as much sense for you and how you want to run your projects, you can always edit the verbiage and add additional statuses up to a total of 7 and change the colors around however you want. So there's customization there too. And then on the bottom left-hand side, we have what we call categories. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier as it relates to like the scope and being able to bucket up your tasks into the different kinds of scopes for the project. Again, completely customizable, up to you, however you want to break out your job, right? So for instance, on this project, I have both plumbing items at the top here with my domestic water. And then, you know, as I scroll down more, you can see I have my HVAC items here. But basically, when I click on these, it basically filters down all my tasks down to those specific scopes. So it allows me to actually bring a bit of order to the chaos. So if I need to maybe focus my next hour or so on seeing where all of my mechanical equipment is at, I can just click that, filter it, and then start to pull up each of these items and address them as they show up. Other examples of categories that you can think of are like VAV, the plumbing fixtures, equipment, fire penetrations. You know, the world is your oyster there.
Got it. So as I'm understanding, you can have as many categories as you want. So you're just basically breaking them up.
Exactly. You can get as detailed or as high level as you want. You know, we see some customers break it down, you know, to like, you know, using their schedule values, right, as a guiding point, and then others just kind of keep the high level where they're tracking trade damage and then maybe some other high level things.
Got it. So now we've seen like everything on the web version. Can you show us how this scales to my team who's on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, what's great about this is that there's also a mobile side to all of this, which basically allows me to access and do all this great stuff that we just talked about when I'm away from my laptop or computer, or if I am a field personnel, I'm also able to do those same things, you know, without ever needing to go back to my laptop in the first place. So I'm going to walk you through kind of two ways we can approach tasks, but this is obviously not the end all be all. There are infinite ways that you can approach using these tasks. We just like to break it down into more of a reactive and a proactive workflow to kind of give you all a holistic understanding of how these tasks can be leveraged. So let's start with a reactive, a concept or example first, right? So I'm going to change my personas a bit here. I am going to pretend to be a foreman out on the job site, and we've all experienced it, right? Let's say there's some trade damage that happened. How do I quickly document all of the relevant information involved and send that back to my office without needing to, jot it down on notes and then, send out an email and take all this time out of my day just to do that. So we'll take an example of, let's say I freshly installed this nice water closet the other day, and then I show up to the job site in the morning and there's actually this big chip in it. Someone ran into it and damaged it, and we got to basically replace it now. So obviously something I want to document and send back to my team. So what I can do is basically pull up the drawing where that water closet is, right? This is the P101 sheet that we were showing earlier. I'm going to pull up my markup toolbar, leverage that task pin option at the very top of the toolbar, that little pin that I just highlighted there. Those are our tasks, right? So when I select that, I'm now able to actually just tap on a location, and it's going to bring up and create a task right off of that location there. So that's where my damaged water closet is. I'm going to actually go in and now fill in some information to allow my PM to take that and run with it. So what's the first thing we want to do? Maybe describe out what we're seeing, right? So we can hit that chat box there in the bottom left, type out the description, or if I have gloves on and I don't really want to type this stuff out, I can also use talk to text here with that microphone down there to transcribe my words. Damaged toilet, we will need to replace. Right, so we post that, really easy, information's documented. What's the next thing we want to do? Maybe take a photo, right? Because I'm standing right there. It's probably a good idea for me to, document something in ironclad proof via a photo. So I'm just going to take that photo real quick right there. You can take as many photos as you want. It doesn't need to just be one. We can also pull up that photo right then and there, and also highlight or mark up anything in that photo that we just took. So if it's not super obvious what it is I want to convey, I can mark up that photo there as well. And that's kind of the basics, right? Like in a couple of seconds there, you've seen that I've essentially captured where it is on the drawing, what the situation is, and then photo documentation of this as well. All this information that I just inputted is timestamped additionally. So you don't need to worry about when was this photo taken, so on and so forth. All that information is captured via Fieldwire in the background. And then just to kind of talk real quickly about things like attributes and stuff like that. Now I want to tag my project manager, so I can just pull up that chat box again, at his name, and maybe just make it a bit easier for him. I'm going to say this is an issue, and I'm going to say that this is, I don't know, plumbing equipment, right? So we're going to post those, and you can see in just one screen, if I hit this edit button up top there, by tagging those 3 different items, I've essentially filled out those 3 big things that we were just talking about, right? The statuses, the categories, and then the assignee. So, in just a couple of seconds, I've created a pretty comprehensive package of the issue, the photo, and then bucketed it up in the right spots within the project, which would make it very easy for the rest of the team to find and follow up on it. And then I can move on with my life. If something else pops up down the line, it's just another couple of seconds for me to just document that and send it out that way too. And then of course, once that tagging happens, the recipient will get an email notification. They'll get a push notification on their phone as well. You can see here, that's that push notification that I sent earlier, right? It comes through as a text message type notification. So it's just taking advantage of things that, teams are already used to as it relates to their phone, the texting, the photo documentation, and putting it into a really powerful tool like this, which is going to benefit everyone. So that's a reactive workflow. We can be a bit more proactive with things as well, right? Let's say, as a PM, I spent the time to kind of import all of my equipment into here, and I've gone through the trouble of assigning all that work out, what start and end dates. And so, as a foreman, again, I want to go and check up on and update my AHU install, right? So I'm going to actually be able to go over to tasks here on the sidebar, pull up these categories, which we talked about. I know my AHU is going to probably be in mechanical equipment, and then I can just quickly find that AHU right there, pull it up, And you can see how everything's kind of already neatly packaged for me, right? My project manager has added a checklist in here so that, when I go through my install and startup, I know exactly what I need to make sure I check off from a QA, QC perspective. You have your typical messages section down here where we're taking photos and communicating back and forth with text and things like that. Even things like sharing files, right? If someone has sent a file through this task for me, I'm able to pull up that document and review it as I go through my install. So I have that product data and that install manual easily accessible for me. And then, once we finish the install of this AHU and we have to go through our pre-functional checklists, we can leverage the Forms tab to quickly attach a task or even pre-attach a form to a task and fill out that information really, really easily straight up from that task there. So you can see again just how neatly this is all packaged up now in terms of a deliverable at the end of the day. Once this AHU is done, I can just export this real quickly and all that information will be neat and packaged for the owner or the GC or whatever, or whoever needs to receive that deliverable.
Awesome. Thank you for going through this. This is really well packaged. Just before we go further, I have a quick question for the audience. Just want to understand if you guys have used Fieldwire forms for your pre-function, commissioning forms, maintenance forms. I know we've just shown it attaching to a task, but just wanted to know that there. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. So Jason, apart from like these pre-functional checklists, what other forms do you or your teams use like on Fieldwire?
Yeah, great question. That was just kind of a bit of a preview. We do have a full-fledged forms tab for basically any other kind of forms that you would want to fill out, right? You want to think of things like daily reports, TNMs, timesheets. We've seen people set up JHAs. It's all fair game. Our custom form builder allows you to build out the form that you want, and it allows you to kind of basically input the questions and the type of data you want to receive back. So just to kind of show you a quick example of a daily report template that we give you out of the box, you're going to be able to do things like capture weather automatically, right? It's going to take the date and the location information that you've punched into this job and automatically give you the weather for that day. No need to check your phone weather app and input that manually anymore. We can do things like checklists and answers, right? Where you can actually ask, were there weather impacts? What kind of accidents were on site? Any injuries? You can create tables or logs, right? If you want to document, your head count on the job that day. Who did we have on our crew? How many hours did they work? What material was delivered? Which rental equipment items do we have on the site? It's all fair game there. And then of course, what's really nice about this is it's very easy to fill out from the mobile site as well. I just simply go over to the Forms tab up top here, hit that plus button, select the form I want to fill out, fill in the form name. Usually I like to just type in the date, and then there's the form, and I just can kind of go in there and start to fill it out. So really, really easy there. And then for those of you that deal with forms that need to be a very specific format, right? Maybe it's municipalities, or maybe it's the GC requiring you to fill out a very specific type of form. We also do have the ability to basically import fillable PDFs as a starting template. So for those of you that want to go down that route or need to go down that route, that's available to you as well.
Got it. You also showed us like a bunch of filling these forms and like the tasks and stuff like that. Is there a way I can like send these reports out or like just download these stuff?
Yeah, so from a forms perspective, you can always go into any of these templates, and then on the right here, you can email out or export these to PDF. If let's say you have, a week's worth of daily reports as well, and you want to just quickly export all those, you can just select them here on the side and then export that again as PDF too. It'll basically zip up all those forms into a nice PDF, and then it'll send it to your email, and then you can take them and email them out to whoever needs to receive them or store them in your internal servers that way. So that's the forms. And then with the tasks, what's really nice about this, again, is that you have all this great information, right? If I were to pull up that AHU example again, we have, checklists, we have this pre-functional checklist form, we have photos, we have, air handler IOMs that are documented in here. So really, a really complete package. And let's say, I want to be able to send this out to users that aren't necessarily in Fieldwire. I don't want them in my job anyways, snooping around. So what we can do is leverage this generate reports option in here and actually create specific reports based off of things like statuses, categories, filters that you can actually send out automatically to users. So you can see here's an example of how I can build out a report. The checklist on the left here basically are, hey, what do I want to include in here, right? If I want a table of contents, I can include that. And then the filters here on the right side are those categories that we talked about, statuses, time frames, things like that. And then what kind of my favorite thing is that you can actually elect to send these out on a cadence, right? So if it's a report that needs to go out, let's say weekly or monthly, you can just select the day of the week or the date of the month, type in your recipients, save it, and that report will go out automatically to those individuals on those designated days. Here's an example of a report. You can see here, cover sheet, you can upload your logo to the upper right. All the information on that cover sheet is at the top there, kind of giving you an idea of what's included in the report. Here's my table of contents. What's nice about these is that they are interactable PDFs. So if I were to click on this here, this duck ruffin, it will actually take me to that location on the report, right? So then I can see the information, photos are there, right? If I click on this photo, it'll actually pull up that photo for me in a separate tab. I can view it in its full resolution, and then, timestamp, all of that is available, quickly itemized. And then at the very bottom of this report, if I scroll all the way down, you will also get a printout of the drawings that are relevant as it relates, right? So earlier, Penalty, you asked me about those pins on the drawings that represent the tasks. Here it is again, right? Just giving you that location-based information in the form of these drawings. So it's really a pretty complete deliverable, and it just takes a couple of seconds to generate at your leisure.
Got it. How about, like, I see that all of this is like individual projects, reports, and like tasks. Is there a way I can export it for like multiple projects at once?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do have integrations that we've rolled out that allow you to consolidate all that information into a singular dashboard. So your typical tools for that are going to be things like Excel, Google Sheets, or for those of you that have Power BI, you can leverage that as well. But I'm going to just show you an example of a Google Sheet and how that is able to actually pull in several jobs and their task information into one. So here's an example of one generated via that integration that we just that I just showed you. Project names are on the side here. I can collapse or expand them, and then I have all of my tasks here, which again I can use my filters here to filter them down. And if I ever want just to click on this and view that actual task within Fieldwire, the URL link is available right there. And if I click on that, that will take me straight into the software, and I can view the information just like I do as if I were in Fieldwire.
Got it. Thank you. So let's say once the project is done, can you walk us through how you do your closeouts?
Yeah. So as far as closeouts are concerned, right, everything within Fieldwire is easily exportable, right? So from a plan perspective, right, we talked about this earlier where we have, maybe we've used this color coding in our markups to, really easily identify the different scopes, right? The sanitary sewer in pink, the gas lines in green, so on and so forth. What's nice is that we're actually actively documenting this work as the project progresses. So at the end of it, it's not this big slog just to put together my as-builts, because all of that information is already, within the project or within the drawings. So from that perspective, when I'm ready to export my PDFs, I can just select, all the drawings that I want to export, go over to the export plans button up there, and then here's where you're actually going to be able to tell the software what to include in that export. So again, this is where the colors come into play, right? Maybe I know that I've only used red, blue, orange, green, and pink as my kind of color codes for my different scopes, but the rest of these colors were more for internal notes, right? So I can just turn those off so that I'm kind of clearing out the stuff that maybe I don't want to include in my as-built. Now it's only going to be including the color-coded scope of work that I designated. And then same thing with these other items too. Like for instance, if I don't want tasks to show up on this export, I can just turn that off. And then once I click that button, you'll get your packages, your drawing packages neatly bundled up with your markups on them as you designated. So that's kind of the plans. And then obviously the reports with the tasks. I talked about this already, but you can generate reports. Your forms are exportable. So are your photos, and then there's integrations as well that can help you push and pull.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason, for going over these workflows. Before we dive into the Q&A session, I just have this last poll question here. Yeah, just a quick response on if you found this workflow useful, would you be implementing a part of it or the entire workflow into your current use cases? Just a quick yes or no. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. Let's go into the Q&A now. Firstly, so the question here is, how would you go about generating a report based only on a specific set of checklists?
Couple options, right? So in the generate report here, there are a bunch of things that you can use. What typically happens when you assign a checklist to a task is that it's going to actually tag, let me pull up that AHU one as an example. It's typically going to tag the task with that checklist, right? So you see that checklist, that AHU pre-startup checklist that I included there, it's automatically tagged when you add that checklist. So as a result, when you go to generate your reports, I'm gonna grab this random one here. I can actually just go down into this tag here and then start to type out the name of the checklist that I want to include. And now my report will only include tags with that, or tasks with that checklist on them.
Got it. Thank you so much. The second question for you is maybe can you explain the difference between the teardrop versus the diamond shaped tasks? Can you just go over the different shapes and what they mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, the way these shapes work out are it's telling you how much information is on that task as it relates to the drawings, right? So if it is a teardrop or a pin like this, it means that it is associated with a drawing and a specific location on that drawing. So this cleanup task here, if I click on that little preview, it's going to take me to a very specific spot within this boiler room, where that task is referring to. If it is a diamond, it basically is attached to a task, but not a specific location, right? So this insulated piping above exhaust hood, right? If I click on this task, this drawing here, there's no specific location that task is associated, just with the drawing itself. So these tasks can be more of like overarching plan activities. So again, install all of your piping on level 1. You would maybe assign that task to your level 1 drawing sheet only. And then the squares would just basically be your square tasks are not associated with any drawings whatsoever. These ones here.
Got it. So as mechanical consultants, we receive new drawings as a PDF with number of pages within the PDF. How can we transfer those new drawings from PDF file and upload them into like a Fieldwire? Talk about like revisions, and when the revisions come, how do you upload them and what happens?
Yeah, as long as they are in PDF form, right? If you're receiving them in a PDF package, most of the work has already been done for you. You just basically select your new plan, upload those drawings again, and then what will basically happen is when we do the processing of the sheets with the sheet numbers and things like that, it's going to actually flag every single sheet that has conflicts, right? So typically when your drawings are issued as revisions, you're usually updating existing sheet numbers, right, with small changes. So it's basically flagging all those items. It's going to give you a little red bar at the top where you're going to be able to actually review each of those pages to make sure that those are in fact the sheets that you want to slip sheet. And then all you have to do is confirm. It will place the new pages on top of the old ones for you, and then your final product will be this, where when you click on a sheet, it's always going to be the most recently updated set first and foremost, and then you can access any previous historical sets from that bar in the bottom there.
Got it. Thank you. Can you reassign a task to someone else?
Yeah, reassigning a task is really easy. So again, you can just kind of pull up a task. Your assignee here is on the side. And if I want to change this from Jane Doe to maybe John Smith, I can just select that name. You can see here that information is captured, right? So it's going to tell you when someone changed the assignee to someone else. So again, that's kind of the nice thing about using these tasks here, is that every little thing that happens to them is documented in the background. So you do get timestamps, right? Who changed the assignee, who changed the start date. You know, you don't have to go through a big long investigation through your team to find out now. It's going to be clearly stated that. So there's a level of accountability.
Got it. How customizable are our categories? Let's say if I want to use categories to name the trades on site, can I do that?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's where I gave it to. That's the kind of the nice thing, is that there's a lot of different ways that you can approach these categories and how you set them up, right? We see a lot of just, you know, scope breakdown, but actually when I was with the GC, we did use Fieldwire, and we broke it down by trade, the name of our trade partners. So very easy for me to just be able to go to, let's say, XYZ Drywaller, click on it, and now I can see all of my outstanding issues with that particular, or outstanding issues or activities with that particular trade.
Okay. So when dropping a task pin onto a plan, is there a way I can set default status or category for the task?
Default status and categories will actually depend on a couple things. So going back to those tasks here, the default status will always be, let's see, which one is it? I think it's this one, open default, right? So when you're actually setting up your statuses, and you go into this gear icon here to adjust the names and the colors, the one that is open default is going to be the one that your tasks will default to when you create them. So just keep that in mind. And then, you know, if you need to change it, you can obviously change it to a different status after the fact. When it comes to categories, what you actually are doing on the plans, let's say I'm creating a category, what you actually select here on this sidebar is actually going to influence what category that task is created as. So let's say I know I'm gonna go create a bunch of hydronic piping tasks, right? I just select that down there, and now when I create this task here, you can see it's already assigned to hydronic piping. So that's kind of the ways you would set up your categories and statuses a bit faster.
Got it. Thank you. Does the timesheets, I'm thinking these are like the dailies and like the different forms, how do we link them to tasks?
Yep. So if you are on a task, right, within here, I'm going to pull up this water closet one as an example again. There is this little paper clip in the bottom left, and this is going to be your button for linking stuff. So if it's photos, forms, other documents, right? So in this example, I want to select forms because that's what I want to link. I can either select a new form, which means create a brand new timesheet or pre-functional checklist or whatever it is. Or if that form already exists, I can just kind of reference the existing one. I'm going to create a new one just for the purposes of this demo. And I'm going to select my timesheet. I'm going to say maybe for the week 4/7 to title it. And then you can see there, it's going to pull up the timesheet, and then I can start to fill out the information. And then again, if I'm done, or if someone else needs to come in here and fill it out, they can just open up this task. It's attached right there. Click on it, start to fill it out.
Perfect. And we're almost at time. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. I hope the session was useful. And for any questions that I didn't get to, there are a few more questions here. We'll reach out to you and answer them directly. And you will get a recording of this webinar if you want to revisit it. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And also, we would really appreciate if you can stay over for a couple of minutes after this and fill up our... Awesome. Thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.